Good evening, folks. It is going to be a busy couple of days with me because a lot of videos have been coming out that I want to respond to that I think is going to be really interesting. Still, Hobby Nightmares will be coming towards the end of the week. Still got that planned. Putting all of the scripts together for that to get all that sorted out. If you like the channel, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Patreon's down below. Discord is free. Please come and join it. So, today, one of my favourite YouTubers, Chapter Master Valrak, I'll put the link in the description below, released a very lovely video about the hobby and about the fact that he's losing his passion for the hobby. And normally, with things like that, I wouldn't be going in on them too hard. I wouldn't be thinking about them and wanting to talk about them too much because that's his own thing and it's what he wants to do. But again, and also apologies if you thought that I was leaving the hobby. This video is about leaving the hobby. It's about that. I'm not leaving the hobby. I don't think you ever leave the hobby, really. I think you take breaks from it, sure. So, the points that Valrak was making were all very valid, and the points that I'm going to make in this video will be in direct response to what he was saying during his own video. So go and watch that video. He doesn't need me to shill for him because, he's a much bigger YouTuber than I am. And what I've always liked about his channel is he's very positive in general, and he's not a shill about it either. He likes toy soldiers, he likes plastic miniatures, and he doesn't really like Games Workshop. But that doesn't mean your entire channel needs to be about hating on Games Workshop. Even on my channel, I call Games Workshop out on their bullshit, and I can be very ranty about things at times. That doesn't mean that my entire channel is ranting about Games Workshop. I think Games Workshop has an amazing responsibility to the hobby, and as such I hold them to a very high standard of behaviour, and when they fall below that standard I call them out on it. I also think that in terms of the people who work there, I've never come across a company or a place with so many amazing people working for it. Absolutely phenomenal. Which is a shame, because when you start turning away people like Chapter Master Valrak, that is the death of the hobby, in my opinion. Because people like him are the lifeblood of what pulls people into the hobby in the first place. People with professional channels. My channel, as you can tell, isn't professional. I get a script together, I turn my microphone on, and I love giving raw content. I love being on here and giving you my raw feelings and thoughts about the hobby and what the hell's going on. Valrak does something very similar. But his is all, obviously, his thumbnails and everything about is the way he speaks and the way he shows you his models and things like that. Top notch. I like to give my opinion in a more raw way, and that's just what I do. I'm very lucky to be doing what I'm doing. I'm a teacher. I don't need YouTube, but I love it. I do love being here, and I love being able to talk to you all. But as soon as you start losing folks like Valrak, two opposite ends of the spectrum. We have Valrak on one side and the Outer Circle on the other, right? So Valrak is very... he comes across as very shilly, as very pro Games Workshop, even though he isn't, because he loves the hobby so much. Outer Circle is also a lover of the hobby, and loves everything that's going on, in terms of the models. But he calls Games Workshop out very vicariously all the time. We need both of those people in the hobby. Right, we need both of those people always holding Games Workshop accountable. We need an angel and a devil, one on each shoulder, saying, right, this is what needs to happen. And when those voices are in concert, when those voices are saying the same thing, that's when you need to sit up and listen. And right now in the hobby, those voices are saying the same thing. And this is worrying, because as soon as we start losing people like Valrak, we're losing the hobby. Okay, so let me go into my notes about what I've written, because I've spent most of today writing nearly an essay on this, and I'm not going to read it verbatim, but I'm going to at least give you my own opinion. So I've made 6 points here about what I think the problems are at Games Workshop right now, and the points that Valrak was bringing up, and my response to them. I think the trigger for Valrak's video was actually the price increase, which I went over a couple of weeks ago now. But here is my 10 cents on what he was talking about. So number one, he said something about losing friends in the hobby simply because they can't afford it anymore. And the only reason he can afford it is because he's got YouTube to supplement his income, which I think is a very valid point. The only reason I can afford anything to do with the hobby is because I'm on YouTube too, and I make pocket money from YouTube. I don't make very much at all, but I make enough to get myself a model a month or something like that, a box of models a month essentially, and not feel the sting of it financially from my wages from work, right? And that's great. But not everybody's in the same situation. Not everyone has two revenue streams like I do and like Valrak did. He recently lost his job, and commiserations, man. Sorry about that. But you know, even though I have two revenue streams. Your YouTube is tiny compared to everything else. But like, the only reason I can afford to do this hobby is because I've got that extra bit of pocket money to say, oh, I've got this £30. Let me just go and buy this intercessor unit, or let me just go and buy this, you know, for because I know eventually I'm going to showcase my army on the channel, so it's an investment in the channel. You know, I don't feel too bad about it. Not everybody's in that position, and I am in exactly the same position as Velrak, and in most of my friends, at least the ones who aren't doing like really well, you know, they're doing normally. These people have rent, these people have mortgages, these people have kids, these people have partners, right? They can't do the hobby, and out of the 8 or 9 friends I did have in the hobby, I have one who is still in the hobby, right? And that's a real shame. In fact, I've only got the one who's still in the hobby, collecting models, painting them, and playing with them, right? I've only got one person left out of that big group of friends. Now, when I asked around why these people had left the hobby, why these people had walked away, the main thing was the pricing is becoming ridiculous. And this is before the recent price increases as well. Every single YouTuber out there will tell you that the price increases, and I've gone over this on my own channel, the price increases are not sustainable, and they are not justifiable. I have shown the accounts of Games Workshop on this channel before, right? The most recent accounts. I've shown them on this channel before. They are making £60+ million in profit, cold hard cash profit, after they've paid everything out. After they've paid out their staff, their rent, their manufacturing costs, their maintenance costs, everything. After everything is paid out to get the business running to a good standard, they're making £60 million in the quarter. Just the quarter, not the year, the quarter. Okay? And they're now announcing price increases. You tell me whether that's justifiable or not. Because I honestly think, looking at it, there's no way to justify this. There is no way, and I don't want to sound like a broken record. I've gone over it on the channel before. Go and watch the other video if you want to. But we are getting to the stage now where it is sheer greed. We're beyond the stage where they're trying to recoup losses brought on by the pandemic or VAT increases and things like that. We're past that stage now. This is greed. This is all this is greed. The attitude of Games Workshop has shifted in recent years in an alarming way. And when you have people like Valrak, who will give Games Workshop a pass most of the time, coming out and calling them on this, we are past we are across the event horizon now, right? We are now at the point where this is getting to a stage where we are really, really worried about the future of the hobby. Okay. So that was one of the things that my friends who are ex-hobbyists have said. The pricing is becoming ridiculous, and that's even before the recent increases in price that have just come in. The other thing that was brought up is the price for entry into the hobby. Okay. The reason why Games Workshop focus so much on recruitment, number one, is the official spiel is we want to grow the hobby, which is true. They want to keep the hobby going, which is true. Without a hobby, they don't have an income revenue stream, and they're going to collapse. But number two, the price for entry to Warhammer is probably the largest in any hobby out there that is geekified at the moment. The price to entry for Warhammer 40,000 is higher than Pokemon. It's higher than Magic the Gathering. It's much higher than Digimon. It's much higher than Yu-Gi-Oh! It's much higher than any other tabletop strategy game you can think of. It's higher than tabletop games in general. You know, looking at things like Scythe and tabletop parlor games that you play with your friends, right? It's higher than that, much higher than that. Nobody competes with Games Workshop on price, on requirements to entry. Because when you're buying a new army, let's just say you're buying one of the £60 now or £70 now starter box sets, you're buying one of those. Then you're buying the paints. Let's call that £120 because you're buying paints, glues, clippers, right, brushes. So £120 just to get the army and just to get the paints and the brushes and things. And that's if you're being conservative about the paints that you want. All right. So we're looking at £120 cost to entry. All right, let's move on. Now you would say, oh, I like these models. I want to play the game now. Okay, that'll be the rule book. Thank you very much. That's another £35, £40. Now we're on like £150. I say, oh, actually, I need my own codex now too. That's another £30, £180. And now you need the stratagem cards. Now you need all the extras and bells and whistles. Looking at around £200, £250. Let's be honest. Barrier to entry, because once you've gotten that starter box set, that's not enough to play a full game of War on 40,000. You're going to need extra units on top of there as well. So all of a sudden we've gone from £200 to about £300. So before we even start, you're paying £300. Now, the way I heard this justified when I was working Games Workshop, and it's an okay point, in that my manager would often say, well, if somebody wanted to go and get into video gaming, what would they have to do? Or they would have to go and buy a PS4 at the time. All right, that is now £400 before you even start buying video games. Okay, fair enough. Absolutely fair enough. What I would say, in response to that, is video gaming a niche hobby? No. Do you have more people to play video games with than you do to play Warhammer 40,000 with? Yes. You can go on any sort of game and go straight online, and you know what? Once you've gotten that game, by the way, everything else should be free. I know there are microtransactions, I know there are things like that, but let's be honest. If you're a normal gamer, you know, it's much easier to resist nickel and diming because you don't need to buy microtransactions to play games. You don't need them, right? They work on FOMO, which is what Games Workshop are getting into, which I'll get into in a minute. But you don't need, say if you're buying Elden Ring, you don't, if Elden Ring had a microtransaction store, you wouldn't need to go onto that store to complete the game, right? The closest we are getting to that is Ubisoft and their bullshit with their games, which I will get into eventually, but not on this video. So, whilst, yes, you're buying a very complicated piece of machinery to play that video game, or like if you're getting a PC, you are getting much more longevity from that PC or that video game console than you are from your hobby, right? Your Games Workshop hobby is a niche hobby. It's not something you're going to do all night, every night. It's not something you're going to be getting into every day of the week like you are with gaming. It's just very simple. So I don't agree with that point that Games Workshop, well, yeah, you're going to have to spend money to get into any hobby. I don't agree, because Games Workshop want to think that they're going up against video games, that they're going up against EA, that they're going up against people like that for people's money. That's bullshit. They're not. They're going up against other war games. They're going up against other tabletop games. They're going up against D&D. They're going up against card games. They're going up against games that you can play in a hobby store. They're not going up against EA or BioWare or anybody like that. That's a load of bullshit, right? That's comparing apples and oranges. It doesn't work. It's a false narrative, right? Right, so let's spin it back. Games Workshop have the highest cost to entry by hundreds of percent. Hundreds of percent. Towards any other game going at the moment. Okay? And that is why people are leaving the hobby. Or not even getting into the hobby in the first place. Because you're buying books, models, the price to entry is far too large. It's far, far too large. And that is why there is such a leaning towards recruitment rather than retention. That brings me to my next point. And this is something that I thought up that Valorant didn't say in his video, but I wanted to say in mine. There is far too much focus on recruitment at Games Workshop. Now, by that, I don't mean that we shouldn't be recruiting people into the hobby. I think recruiting people into the hobby is probably the most important thing that we need to do as hobbyists and as people working for Games Workshop, right? I know people from Games Workshop watch my videos. I speak to a few people from Games Workshop who watch my videos. I know managers from Games Workshop who watch my videos. And I know people at head office who watch my videos, right? Who I speak to. Please take this under consideration. I am a tiny YouTuber, but I would think that I have the ear of people that people 10 times my channel size do not have, right? I have direct access to people that people 10 times my channel size do not have, and I'm very lucky to be in that position. But this is the first time in a long time I'm making a direct plea to you, the people who work for Games Workshop, and the people who are rather high up at Games Workshop, right? You know who you are. Listen to me when I say this. Recruitment is great. Focusing on recruitment as its own thing is a recipe for disaster. We need to recruit through retention. Do not get rid of retention. The entire culture at Games Workshop is geared towards getting new people into the hobby and shifting old people out of the store and, in doing so, out of the hobby. Right? What I was told at Games Workshop, and I've said this before, during my training, get the regulars out of your store. They're time vampires. They're not there. They're not going to give you any money. Your store's going to die. I would say this. Fuck the store. Fuck the store. Right? Our stores should be there as a front of office representative to say, we are the representatives of the hobby. We don't give a shit whether we sell a lick of models from this store. Our job is to get you into the store and into playing the hobby. We don't care if you buy stuff from us, right? We don't have any targets in terms of money because we're making so much money on mail orders. We're making so much money online. We're making so much money through our third party stores that we don't need to make money. If you look at the accounts of Games Workshop, their retail business, the actual Warhammer stores, they're dying. They're the smallest part of their revenue share is their stores. That's not what stores should be. Stores shouldn't be driving profits. Stores shouldn't be driving to meet monetary targets. Stores should be open places to recruit people into the hobby. And the way you do that is by filling your store with people who are enjoying the fucking hobby. That's how you do it. I walk past the Liverpool store every single day when I go to work. Every day I walk past the Liverpool store. It's always fucking empty. There's nobody in there. Right? There's two bored-looking dudes standing there talking to the one guy who walks in because they're lonely. It's always empty, and if there is somebody in there, they're always the same faces. Nobody is going in there because it's not a vibrant community. It's dead. There's nobody in there. And it's dead because you drove off all of your loyal customers who go in there to play the game and have fun. All of the hobbyists I know go to hobby stores that aren't Games Workshop because they're not going to be dry humped out of the store because you're chasing profits. Right? That's simple as that. Simple as that. We need to recruit through retention, not recruit over retention. Retention needs to be the centre of the hobby experience. I don't want a hole in the bottom of the bucket. I've said that analogy so many times on this channel because it's what I was told, and it's even in the little black book that you get as a Games Workshop manager. I have it downstairs in my little box. You are told the hobby is like a bucket with a hole in the bottom of it, and you are the tap that's putting water into the bucket. We're losing people from the bottom. We need to... No. Why are we losing people from the bottom? That hole is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'll go into the reasons why in a minute. But this hobby is going to fall on its fucking arse if we do not start recruiting through retention. We need to be retaining customers, retaining fans, retaining people who are in the hobby because they're in our stores, happy, smiling, and enjoying it, and playing our games, and having a laugh, and putting money over the till, sure, because they want to support the store, because they're having a really good time. What we don't need is empty stores, soulless stores that exist just to sell you shit. That's not what we need, because if you look at your accounts even now, your stores aren't making money, right? What I mean is, they're making, of the 60 odd million you're making, they're making what, 2 to 4 million? What's that? That's nothing. That's nothing. You could take that 2 to 4 million and just throw it out the window because you're earning 60 plus per quarter. Right? Stores need to be focused on retention, on recruitment through retention. People need to walk past the Games Workshop store and think, wow, that looks like a fucking blast. Look at how much of a good time those guys are having. Right? I completely support the fact that, yes, you need a diverse set of people in the hobby and in the store. I completely support the fact that everybody should feel good about going into the store, no matter what sex, colour, or creed you are. Yes, I completely get that, and I'm completely for that, and I completely say, yes, if you get a smelly neckbeard in there who's driving people away, you need to take them to the side and talk to them about it. But that's where that's where you should be putting your management training. Your management training should not be on meeting my financial targets. Your management training should be on talking to people and getting them involved and staying in and building them up. Your managers should be skilled at going to a guy who's stinking of shit in your store and being able to tell them to go home and get a wash and still get them coming back in the store after they've gone home and washed. That should be their skill set. They should be able to mould and change and push an inclusive drive force into getting people into the hobby and keeping them in the hobby, keeping them spending money. Take the pressure off these wonderful people that you've got running your stores for the most part. Take the pressure off of them. Just take it off. You don't have any more financial targets. Your only job is to recruit people into the hobby. That's it. And we will come around, we will look at your store, and we want to see a full store. What I would do, I would say, you know what? Every week, I want a picture of your store full on Facebook. I'm gonna check. I want a picture of your store full. You got a month. Go, build it. You have no more financial targets. Build it. Build the store. Recruitment through retention, right? Build it, and they will come. Okay, number 3. That was one of my biggest points, but I want to get on with this because we're already running on time. FOMO, fear of missing out. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Get it out of the hobby. It has no place in the hobby. False rarity. I've gone through it before. When I've tried to buy Castellan Crow and people like that, and you can't get them for love nor money. Get it out the hobby. It's one of the main reasons people are leaving. It's one of the main reasons people are just saying, you know what, fuck this. Even if I want to give you money for a model, I can't because, apparently you want the scalpers to have these models so you can charge us twice or something. Ridiculous decision. Get out the hobby. Leaving that where it is. I've got a full video on that one about Castellan Crow when I wanted to buy it to give them money and they can't. Go and watch that. Let's move on. So, one of the last things I want to go over is the initial change Games Workshop made. And Valrak brought this up, and I love this in his video where he said, look, for a while, we didn't have any communication from Games Workshop in the bad old days. They didn't want to talk to us. They didn't want to let us know what was going on with our hobby. They were just like, give us money, simp. That was it. And for a while there, they turned it around, and they were speaking to us, and they were listening to us, and they were coming up with things that we actually wanted. And they were actually taking our concerns and responding to them. We would have really good banter with them online. The official Warhammer Twitter account was really funny most of the time, and their Facebook account was really funny as well. And for a long time, well, not a long time, but at least 5 to 6 years, we've had a really good powwow with Games Workshop, which has been great. Recently, though, and he brought this up, and I completely agree, they're still talking to us. But they're doing it in the most cold, corporate, fake, nonsensical way that you can. We've gone from speaking to actual people at Games Workshop to speaking to machines. Because I have a funny feeling that the growth that Games Workshop experienced over COVID was actually the worst thing that could have happened, because now we're dealing with investors. Now we're dealing with people who are coming in, legal representatives who are coming in, and they want Games Workshop to do X, Y, and Z. They want Games Workshop to streamline the way that they talk to customers. They want Games Workshop. And how do you streamline? You automate it. You automate it. You don't speak to people at Games Workshop anymore. They don't speak to us anymore. There's no communication. The only communication we get is, hey guys, the prices are going up. And here's why. Bullshit reasons. It's gone completely the other way. There was a time there when I thought, you know what? We could be onto a winner here. Games Workshop seemed to have turned the corner. And we could be onto another Disney. We literally could. We could be onto a tabletop Disney here. If they carry on the way they're going. With being open and honest and being straight with us and talking to us and taking the piss out of us. You know? Getting involved in things like text-to-speech device and getting involved. I should have known where it was going. Like when I was a manager myself and I'd post something about a clip from text-to-speech device, no swearing in it at all, just a nice clip from it onto my own Facebook page for the store, and was told take that down because we don't own the rights to it because it's transformative. Yeah. I should have known at that stage that this is where it was going, and you know, I was very lucky to work for the company at the tail end of those years where they were very open about getting involved with people. And the amount of people that I would come into the store beaming and happy to be a part of the hobby because Games Workshop were emailing them personally. There was somebody from Games Workshop emailing them and just talking shop about the hobby. Just talking some shit. That's what they were doing. They were just like, hey man, you know, thank you for your email, you know, how's your army going? How's this going? Blah, 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 blah. Just, we get none of that now. None of that. It's gone. It's gone. You'll be conversing with, you know, GW bot 719. Rather than an actual person, and it's a real shame. That needs to change. Number 5, online content being nuked. Everything is being cordoned off for premium users. Everything has been pulled back for premium users. Games Workshop have come into the one bit that they just don't seem to understand how free advertisement works. You know, how cool it is to give shit away for free to boost your profits overall. They don't get that. They don't get that. They are completely blind to that. All they see is money. All they see is give us more money. No, fuck that. What do you mean? What do you mean you're getting that for free? Fuck you. Give us money for it. We're going to buy that out. But fuck you. Now you owe us some money. Now you owe us some money. No. Don't go on YouTube. Don't go on YouTube. Come to Warhammer Plus. Come to Warhammer Plus. Alright, there's fuck all on it, but come to Warhammer Plus and give us this money every month, just so you can see this one thing that you actually wanted to see. That used to be free. Now it's not because of us, but, you know, whatever. And they hide behind the fact that they're giving these people jobs. When was the last time you heard from the guy who created Astartes? When was the last time you heard from anything that he was making at all? You haven't, because he's disappeared into the corporate malaise, into the furniture of Games Workshop. He's just another content designer now. That's it. Done. You know, Games Workshop should be nurturing these relationships with people who are giving them free advertising. I've said it before. Valrak said it too. You know, they should be nurturing these people, not cutting their hamstrings off and forcing them on their knees. That shouldn't be how it works. I've gone over that in a video before, hence why I'm skipping through these quite a bit, because I've made my main point. But the last one I want to say, and this is something I haven't said on the channel before, 9th edition, the more I play of it, the more I'm starting to sort of get the gist that it's annoying me, and annoying other people. I know a lot of people who are walking away from this edition and are walking away from the hobby. We have a set of very overly complicated rules. We have secondary objectives that are just convoluting the game and making sure that we're playing a card game now rather than an actual tabletop war game. We have hundreds of bloated stratagems per army that are just slowing down games, slowing down the hobby, slowing down everything. So there are too many gotchas in the hobby at the moment. In Warhammer 40,000, there are far too many rules that interrupt your turn. You know, there are far too many. It's just ridiculous. It's getting overly annoying. I think 8th hit the sweet spot, and we needed to take 8th edition and just, you know, tweak it in a few ways, add a few things, and that's it. That would be 9th. I think 10th edition, and I will do an entire video on this and what I think needs to change. I think 10th edition needs trimming down. We need to bring it right back down to what 8th edition was. Still have some stratagems, yes, and still have some secondaries, yes. But the amount of bloat that's in the hobby right now is a mess. It's a mess. We are getting towards 7th edition 7th edition formations in terms of mess at the moment. It's driving people away. It's driving people to say, you know what, let's just play 8th. Let's just play 8th instead of this. Because at the moment, you know, yes, you know, if you know exactly what you're doing and you have a sort of or almost savant type mind, then yeah, 10. I'm sure 9th is a great thing for you because you're really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the games I play with my one friend who plays the hobby, because I'm able to play it and I forget about 90% of the rules. What I mean about that is, I know my own army's rules, but I don't use any stratagems hardly. I use like 1 or 2 stratagems per game, and I focus on maybe 1 secondary per game. I focus on assassinate, and the character killing one, the Slay the Warlord one, right? I just focus on them because they're simple. But the sheer amount of secondaries that are in the game is ridiculous. And the sheer amount of bloated stratagems that are in the game is also absolutely ridiculous. There's no need for that many. The barrier for entry should be far lower than what it is. Warhammer 40,000 should be very simple to pick up, but very difficult to master to where you're beating everybody week in, week out. That's how it should be. And I'm getting a very warped sense of how the hobby is because the one friend I play against, we play very friendly games. And we both use 2 or 3, maybe 4 stratagems per game. That's it. We both use, you know, 2 or maybe 1 or 2 of the simplest secondaries that you can possibly use, that you're going to remember. But there are so many other rules that we could be using that I know if I went to anybody else in the hobby, I would hate this edition of Warhammer 40,000. Because every single game I see is so slow and is so interrupting. There are so many gotcha moments where, you know, somebody says, I've got this rule that completely blows you out the water because this card says it. No, man. No. For me, no. So, those are the things that I would change in the hobby. I will do a 10th edition. What I would do for 10th edition video going forwards. We're way past 30 minutes now. I love you all long time. What would you change about the hobby, and what did you think about Valrek's video? I mean, are you seeing people leave the hobby as much as I can? As much as I am? Are you seeing the hobby sort of stagnate now and start to trudge itself through the mud? Because I am. I can see the wall. You know, I can see the wall approaching us where we're going to be in serious trouble if this carries on. And it's a real shame. Things need to change. I like doing positive videos. Please give me some excuses for doing positive videos. Games Workshop has so many wonderful people working for them that it's actually weird how many amazing people are there. But the decisions that they are making right now aren't to the benefit of the hobby as a whole. And they are already making so much money that the excuses now are falling on deaf ears, as they should. So what do you guys think? Is the hobby in trouble in terms of people joining it? Because as far as I'm concerned, that bucket, the hole at the bottom, is getting ever bigger, and that tap at the top is being shut off slowly but surely by Games Workshop's own idiotic decisions. So, what do you guys think? Answers in the comments below, please. Love you all long time. Have a wonderful day, and I'll speak to you next time. Have a good one.